All right, welcome everyone to another episode of Traders Talk podcast, where we sit down with some of the best funded traders, non-funded traders, so we can hear their story, hear their struggle, so we can use that as fuel to light our own fire. Today, I got a really special guest, man. A lot of you guys probably know him if you've been following, the FTMO space and things like that. I got a couple of DMs about you. His name is Ramon, and he goes by Gloryfx. So today, we sit down. We're gonna have a chat with Ramon and see what the story is, man. So. The key point here, Ramon, I think is a lot of people have seen your video where I think you did a withdrawal with FTMO for $49,000. That's massive, man. Congratulations. So before we get into all of that and your success with FTMO and all those things, I want to know, like, I'm a fan of, like, traders and what the struggle was, because I went through a big struggle with myself, right? When I was trying to become profitable, things like that. So I love to hear other people's story, and that's why I was asked the first question. So. Ramon, right now you're in California, right?
Correct. Yeah, I'm in California.
Okay. So I don't know how long you've been trading for. Maybe that's something you can touch on too. But what was life like for you before trading? Like, what were you doing? Like, were you in college? Were you working? What was going on before trading was even a thing in your life?
Yeah. So when I started trading, I actually was working a job. It was 4 to 12 in the morning. I was like a driver at some company. It was the worst hours, the worst shift ever. I just didn't really like it, The story for me is, putting in these long hour work weeks. I obviously was one of the youngest individuals working at different companies. So I was, with other people like older than me, like 25, 30, 35, 40, and I'm the youngest person there making the same amount of money. And that really came to me. It's like, like I'm young, I want to advance. I don't want to be like them 30, 40 years old working the same job, working the same pay. I want to, increase my salary and kind of not capitalize myself at a specific price range.
Right.
So I worked there for a few years. Mentally, I always wanted to venture off, explore, different passive incomes, trade, or whatever that case may be. Find another way to make an income source for me. In that way, I was actually just learning Forex. So I came across Forex. And ever since then, I just never looked back. I obviously have to put in the time and the hours and the effort. But once I started to learn that, you have to treat this skill, this trading as a job, right? We can't not put in the hours in trading because remember, we're working 40-hour work weeks. We have to do the same as trading. Obviously, there should be a balance between your life, right? The essential life skills and trading. But the way I thought of it is like, okay, if I can put 40 hours into this trading skill, or excuse me, if I could put 40 hours into this work week, why can't I put 40 hours into trading, right? So investing in yourself, putting the hours in yourself instead of a company was what made sense 100%. To me. And ever since then, I just never looked back.
So how long has it been since you when you first started learning or started trading?
So it was actually like COVID, right? So COVID was 3.5 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, 3.5 years
2020.
Ago.
2020.
Exactly.
Right.
I think it might have been a little bit before that for me, like a little bit before 2020, because prior. And what really took me to that edge was like, okay, COVID hit, we didn't get laid off, but we couldn't work. The society changed. So at that time, I was getting paid leave, but I was at home, and I was like,
you were at home.
I have all this time on my hands. Yeah.
And you could have been laid off. At that time I was working on my job, and it was like there was like this. We were on furlough, so that means we were working 2 weeks, we were off 2 weeks. And I didn't know if I was going to be able to keep my job or not. And that's kind of like just 2 months before I started trading as well. And and then that was it for me. So once you did find out and you're like, okay, this makes sense, I can maybe make this thing work. What kind of education, like what did you do YouTube? Did you find a course? Like, I'm sure you hopped through a couple of things before you finally found what worked, but where did you start?
Definitely. I started on YouTube. There's a lot of free knowledge out there. As mentioned prior, right? So I got laid off and I had all this time on my hands. Yeah. So me having all this time on my hands, transitioning from 40-hour work weeks to having all this time, I'm on YouTube all day, all night. I kid you not. Like, even then, like I said previously, before I even actually started quitting my job, even then I would get off at 12 o'clock in the morning. I'm watching YouTube 24/7. And it was a lot of trial and error, right? When you take that route, obviously it's going to be a lot harder because, you're just looking at information on YouTube. But there's a lot of content out there, a lot of, strategies, a lot of information that you can obtain. It's just how bad do you want it? How bad are you able to obtain it? And just keep rewatching the information.
Yeah, it's almost like, how, I see a lot of people come into the space and they're like kind of serious, but they're they're almost treating it as like a game. Right away when I came in, I lost a bunch of money and I was like, I gotta get serious. And that's when I was like, you gotta start treating it like a business. Like if you really devote yourself and, you think of it as like a business, I think a lot of things change. So in the start, like before the funding, you even found out about funding, I'm assuming that you were probably trading just a small personal account at the time.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't call it small. I mean, yes, small, definitely.
Okay.
At that time, small, small, like $5,000 accounts. To me, at that time, that was big though, right? Like $5,000 in an account. You being, even though it's still a small account now that I came where I came.
Right.
So you start to understand, like, back then I was over leveraging, blowing $5,000 accounts, like devastating, right? Then I'd have to figure out a way to how to make some more money, fund that 5,000 again, blow them again. So it definitely was a tragedy.
Yeah.
But definitely trading my personal account was where I started the roots, where I started to actually, learn the ins and outs and just learn from my mistakes. It's all a process. Losing is part of the game.
Part of the game, 100%. Yeah, I think 2020, within like 4 months, I lost like $30,000. But I was also trading crypto futures and stuff like that. But I'm not. That's no issue because I mean, like there was that 1 month I made 30. You made 49,000 in 1 month, so it's no issue. Do you feel that when you're trading, because I feel this is true, when you're trading, it's like even if it's $5,000 for me, it's almost like you can't help yourself but over leverage because you don't want to make, you don't want to risk $50 a trade and make 150. You want to make like you're watching other people on Instagram making 100K. You're like, yo. So I think having a smaller account, do you feel like it makes you want to over leverage?
I definitely do feel that because, you have a small account and you're restricted to so much, right? So realistically, once you overcome that thought, though, you have to understand that we're in it for the long run. But like I said, me, myself, I've been there. I've done it. Over leveraging was my way, obviously to build that account. Now, once you get an essential amount in that account, then at that point, you're flexible. You have that room. You have that cushion to where you don't even have to over leverage as much. But yeah, definitely 5K accounts or below, it's going to be hard.
It's hard
to risk 1%. It's not in the long run, if you're trying to live off that account, it's not as substantial.
Yeah, and anything lower, like people trying to flip $200 accounts, it's like you're just killing yourself. So eventually, I guess you got introduced to funding. And I'm assuming FTMO was the first company that you got funded with. So now, how much total funding do you have? How long have you been with them? And you want to tell me about that big payout that you got? Like what month? When? How did that happen?
Yes, I've overcome FTMO by just looking. I was like, you know what? I got to stop using my own capital. I got to start thinking a little smarter. So if I can invest, to answer your question, I actually have a 400K funded account. So I spent 200K accounts, and I just used a trade copier, and we just went from there. So total investment, right? $2,400. One 200K account, $1,200. We passed them. Obviously, it was a process. It wasn't like I just took it and passed it immediately. But after passing it, it was a smarter route. If I could leverage other people's money to make more money for myself, which I have, the return on investment is substantial. Why not do it? So after becoming funded, I'm currently funded with them now for about 2.5 months. So I will be getting that increase of allocation, scale up for the account.
Scale up. Yeah.
Exactly. But while being with them, as you said, I had like a $49,500, 49K payout basically.
Damn. You beat me, that's for sure.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So and that was 1 month, right? Like that was one payout all in one.
So to clarify, I like, me personally, I like taking my payouts within 2 weeks. Only because I know how aggressive of a trader I am.
Yeah.
So if I make a crazy payout, I want to just secure it.
Secure that money right away. Yeah. Yeah, they used to only have monthly payouts before, but what I don't know if you do this or not, but what I do with all my funded accounts now is if I reach 7 to 8%, I just stop trading them. There's no Like there's no point of going further and getting greedier because funded accounts, it's a hit or miss. You could any time mess it up. So that's typically what I do. Once I hit 6-7%, I'll just keep trading my personal account. Do you have like kind of a limit where you'll stop, or you don't care? You'll just keep going?
I mean, the way I have my structure and system set up is I definitely will have a limit. If I'm hot, I try to keep going until I'm like, all right, man, losing trade, let me call it quits. But realistically speaking, we all have to understand these are just numbers on the screen, right? You have to start learning the value. Like, what can I do with this money, right? I have this amount of money. What can this pay for? People start to forget the value of the money that they're seeing on the screen and just start trading. And we have to understand that a withdrawal, you're not really winning until it hits your account.
I agree with that, bro. Yeah.
Me personally, I definitely do have a limit to where I stop at. Like if I'm losing a little money, or if I'm noticing, okay, I'm falling off a little bit, let me just call it quits. This is still decent money. Where are you going to get this amount of money at a real job within that time period? Nowhere.
Yeah. And that's one thing we talk about in my Discord. Like people are up 11%, 12%. You're up like $10,000. You never made $10,000 from no job before. But it's almost like, the greed part always gets in the way. And that's like the last thing that I really struggled with was greed. I think I had one FTMO account. I was up like 27% or something. And I just wouldn't stop. And it went all the way back to like 5-6%. That's when I was like, okay, I'm never doing this again. There's no need. It's better to just get more accounts, link them together through like a copier, and just keep the same risk or lower your risk. Actually, is much better. So one of the other things that I want to touch on is because I think a lot of traders struggle with this. I don't know how much of a struggle you had with like psychology and emotions. Like, are you pretty good with controlling your emotions and knowing when to call it quits? Taking profit off the table, or like calling a bad week off, and it's like I'm done. I'm closing the computer. How was your journey through that? Like, did you do anything to improve that, or did you ever struggle with that in the start?
Well, in the start, obviously, my psychology was all over the place. As a new trader, we're trained to, me seeing a pullback was like, oh no, reversal, I'm wrong, right? So, as I progressed, psychology definitely did increase in advance. But, being beginner traders, we see these pullbacks, we see these numbers on the screen. And some of these bad habits we do may hinder our complete trading success. So I definitely would say my psychology wasn't the greatest coming in this industry. But now where I'm today, I had this mindset of where you have to be robotic in the market, right? You have to know 100%. When, okay, move stops to break even, and what happens, right? So that's something I do. I just move stops to break even. I could be up 1%, 2%, stops at break even. If my TP is 5, 6, it's either it hits or it doesn't. I'm not a big fan of partials. So I feel like just having these rules in my trading plan, it definitely does accumulate and make me like adapt to just being robotic, not caring what the market does, because I know my entry secure. There's no risk on the table. You just got to be robotic. That's the only way to kind of advance, in my opinion.
Yeah, less emotions involved. And I think you get to that stage when you are confident with your strategy. Like when you're confident in yourself, you're like, okay, I know what I'm doing. If it hits stop loss, whatever, it's good. I'll come back tomorrow. How many, do you have a certain amount of pairs that you look at, or is there one specific thing you trade?
Yeah, so I mean, on that payout, I definitely was trading a lot of NAS. I love NAS. NAS is something I've been trading a lot now, but I definitely do look at gold, AU, U30, GJ, and GU. Other than that doesn't mean I'm trading those pairs though, but I definitely do look at them.
You're looking at them. Okay. Are you big on indicators, or are you just more like price action based?
So I like to use a lot of price action. I like my candles, my charts completely black. I do have one indicator, but I don't, it's called VWAP, is volume weighted average price. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it.
Yeah.
But other than that, that's all I really use, VWAP and just pure black candles. I'm just looking at price.
Like a white chart with black candles is what you're referring to? Okay, cool. Yeah. So it's less scary when everything's dropping or it's going up, right? Yeah, that's really good. That's smart. Okay, cool. Is there anything that you implemented to like improve your strategy? Like, do you journal, or do you like on the weekend look at your trades from the past week or anything like that? Like, do you do anything to like, review that stuff?
Definitely. Winner or loser, I feel like you got to be looking at the winners and the losers just the same. Something that I'm doing is I actually, each trade I take is posted in my learning area. So I guess it's a kind of sort of way each week I go back. I see, okay, how did I do it for the week? What are we looking at? And I just go back and see. So I definitely do, review as far as like journaling in a notebook, not so often as much, because even then I only take so many trades a week now. So I kind of just don't really see the point because I'm only taking maybe one to five trades a week. And it's just easy for me to go back, remember them, and see what went wrong and what went right.
Okay, cool, awesome. And we'll talk about your learn and earn in a second. Now, the one other question I wanted to ask you was, probably from the time you started trading, you were blowing these accounts to the point that you got profitable. There must have been like a certain amount of months, or some people it's years, right? For me, it was like over like a year and a half, like 1.5, like over a year and a half at least. What kept you going during that time? Because that time it's like people are just dying. Like I was like, I don't know if this is gonna work out, man. I don't know, but I just kept going. Like I didn't want to stop. So was there something that like motivated you to keep going at that time?
Definitely. I think it's just the will to want it. A lot of these new traders get in, they just drop, like you said, drop like flies. They don't want it bad enough. They don't. They see the failure. They're not wanting to see the success. Each trader in each profession, sports, basketball, there is never just a get in and you're good at it, right? There's a progress, there's a stage. And for me personally, it was just really like, okay, I want to be financially free. I want to be able to travel and obtain money when I want, how I want, right? So I need to find 100%. A way. I seen Forex as a way out for me, right? It definitely, it's unlimited. Like you can do whatever you want. Make the money whenever you want, theoretically. So what kept me going, it was just a thrill. You got to understand that, people who don't want it bad enough aren't going to see the results they want to see. If you put in the endless hours, nights, time, and effort, you're definitely going to see it in the long run. And once you overcome that stage, like I said, it's history. You made it. You just got to keep doing the same thing that got you there and keep the consistency.
Agree. Yeah, man. For me, it was like the worst thing was like asking your boss for like, I remember asking my boss at one time, like, yo, I need like 3 weeks off. I got to go see my cousin's wedding. And he's like, no, you can't. I'm like, what? So at that time, I was like, yo, I never want to ask anybody for like time off or no bullshit like that. So I used to study 4 hours before work, and then trade 4 hours after work. It was just like nonstop for me. So, yeah, I 100% agree with what you said. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to link your YouTube below so people can, watch some of your videos. I highly recommend. I think you share some of your strategies as well on your YouTube channel, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and you also have a learn and earn. Do you want to just tell people like what they can expect if they join?
Yeah, so I have a learn and earn, which basically, it's on Telegram. It consists of more of the learning side. Obviously I send every trade that I take, but theoretically all my trades are planned. So before I'm even taking a trade, I like to do the analysis and predict and kind of like anticipate where I want price to go.
Right.
So you're going to get a lot of videos, a lot of live updates of me managing the trade, screenshots of the MT4, me scaling in positions, and etc. As far as just buy here, sell here, it's not, obviously you're going to get that, but it's more on the learning side, as I want everyone in the learning area to kind of learn why I'm taking a trade rather than just, enter blindly because I'm saying, hey, buy here, sell here.
Right. Okay, that's awesome. So what I will do is I will leave your links in the description. Now, last question. What kind of advice can you give people that are like stuck at break even, or they're just stuck in a losing phase, or they're like kind of profitable but they give their money back to the market? Like, is there one like little piece of advice that like you think really sticks with some people that you've given it to?
Definitely. And that's just keep trading like a business. If you're over leveraging, over trading, and your psychology isn't in a great state, you're bound, like I said, to be in those stages. So my advice given someone in that stage is, like treat it like a business. Understand that you don't have to be in a trade every day. A lot of traders feel like, oh, I'm going to wake up, trade London session, and then I'm going to trade the London session after, right? You gotta just understand that it's a business and think like a business and just be smart about every trade you take. Once you understand yourself and understand that, okay, I can make money, I just gotta stop giving it back. I gotta stop doing these bad habits. You're gonna go from there. It's all in the mental psychology, right? Trading is literally 80% psychology, maybe 20% technicals. But when it comes down to it, a lot of the stuff is driven off of your psychology.
I agree. The biggest takeaway from that would be treat it as a business and not like a game or like gambling, which a lot of people do. you know, you wouldn't make some of the stupid mistakes you make if you actually owned a physical business. You wouldn't be showing up late and things like that. So, Ramon, thank you so much for coming on today, guys. I'm going to leave all of his links in the description so you can reach out to him on Instagram, watch his YouTube videos, and join his Learn and Earn. And I want to thank you for coming on the podcast, and we will see you soon.